Okay, we're live. Sorry for the technical delay, everybody. We had a little issue with the time zone, and it forced us to push it to the next 5 minutes. So here we are at 3:40 instead of 3:33, how we wanted to start. So anyway, thanks for jumping on today. Today's webinar is going to be about SEO. Actually, we're just a quick introduction. I'll give you guys about us in a minute here. But we are Webtek Interactive. I'm Justin Cromer. I'm one of the co-founders. I've got with me Richard Obermeyer, who is one of our senior SEOs here. And so he's going to be kind of helping us a little bit on some technical analysis and things like that. So I'll give you a quick thank you all for jumping on. Another thing too, I'll just let you know is that today what we're going to be doing is, and we're doing this every week now, by the way. So we're doing SEO 1 week, conversion rate optimization another week, and pay-per-click another week. So we're going to be kind of helping people with some free analysis around these different topics. And we're just asking people to just submit their website, and we'll take a look and go through and give them some breakdowns. Just so you have a little quick understanding of who I am, I'm Justin, like I said, one of the co-founders. Scott is actually in New York this week, so he's not going to be on this time, but he will be joining future ones in the future. And he has a wealth of experience with SEO, so it'd be really good help to have him on kind of talking through some of these. Although Richard's got almost 10 years himself, I've got it myself in about 15 years in this space. So talking just a little about SEO in general, I just want to give you guys a few pointers. Like SEO, it stands for search engine optimization. This is really basic, but in simple terms, it just means like the process of improving your website to increase its visibility in Google and other search engines. Really, ultimately, we're trying to drive towards getting more traffic and more conversion for your website. I mean, it's nice to get visibility, but it's really about ultimately driving business for you. Improving both the quality and quantity of website traffic. SEO targets unpaid traffic rather than paid traffic. It's really simple. I mean, we probably all have a pretty good understanding. Just a quick case study. We have some other ones that are just kind of relevant to, I think, kind of similar to some of the businesses we have on here, although we have worked with 1,500 clients. We have all kinds of case studies and things like that to kind of help you guys. But here's one that was kind of in the health and wellness industry here in Salt Lake City. In the first month or so, the first year or so, we had an increase of about 111% increase, 100 in organic traffic, 179 increase in monthly organic traffic, and organic transactions increased by 65%. I won't spend too long on these kind of things, but we've had some really good feedback and testimonials from the work that we do. So I'll just kind of leave it at that for now. I have a bunch of other case studies if you want to check them on the website, just to basically establish a little credibility with who's giving this information. We've been doing this a really long time, so I'll leave it at that. So let's jump right in. I'm going to go pull up this first website here. Saina, I hope I'm saying that right, is the first one we're going to pull up. And this is a website that's in the healthcare space. And let's see. I'm going to jump to a full screen so you guys can see this once I get it up. Richard, did you have a chance to put this one in the dashboard?
Yeah, we have some initial ranking and still pulling some of the data, but we can share a little bit.
So let me tell you guys, I want to give a couple, I'm going to go full screen here so it's easier to see. But I want to explain about the approach to SEO that I think it's really important to understand. Is before we just start getting in about the on-page analysis and giving you a bunch of technical kind of breakdown, I think it's really important to establish the goal of SEO and what are we doing this for in the first place. That's the first question we ask all of our clients when we start any sort of engagement with them is, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your goal? Based on your goal, then, and that's going to be usually leads or sales or book an appointment. Those are kind of the main kind of calls to action that people are looking to drive for their business. So once we understand what your goal is, then we want to be able to look at, okay, based on the goal, who is the audience? So who are the actual people that we're trying to attract to the business? And who are the ideal clients is maybe another way of looking at that, or ideal customers. Once we know, and by the way, that can be, there can be multiple segments within that, or personas we may call them. So it could be a B2B and a B2C play. You might have some people who are actually looking for, you're actually trying to do actual sales on the website versus people are just reaching out to you. There's a multiple demographics that might be within that entire audience set of segments or personas, like I mentioned. So once we know who we're trying to attract. Then we can look at actually the keywords of what these people would be typing in, and we'll get a little bit into the keyword research side of things. It's a little bit of a technical area, but we're going to give you some tools and resources that will make it a little bit easier for you through Google and some other ones where there's keyword research tools. But we'll kind of be breaking down that process. Essentially, we're looking at estimated search volume of phrases, how competitive the phrase is, which means like number of index pages in Google for that certain phrase. What is your current ranking position? So having an understanding of where you're currently ranking now gives you a good idea of kind of how long it's going to take you to rank for a phrase. And the fourth thing that we look at with the keyword research is consumer intent, or how likely is the phrase going to be to drive his traffic. Or drive traffic to your website. So that's kind of the 4 areas of keyword research that we'll be looking at. Once we know the keywords, so again, the audience, the goal drives the audience then is the keywords. Once you know what keywords you're trying to rank for, then if you have any understanding of SEO, and we'll try to give you understanding of this, but then we can actually do a competitive analysis and really looking at who are we going up against and what do they have that we don't, essentially. And that's going to be factors both on page and off page, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But then once we know the competition, kind of reverse engineer that as SEOs to figure out what we need to do to get ahead of them. And then it's really, that'll help us also understand the content. So content is both on page and off page. You'll hear me talking about that a lot with SEO because there's really 2 sides of SEO. The things that you're doing to your website itself is on page, and that's going to be things like improving. First of all, I'll make sure you have the right content in place for each keyword. We're trying to rank actually a page for each keyword, where you can't rank a whole website for keywords. You can rank a home page or you can rank an internal page, but you really are ranking a page for certain search phrases. So we're always trying to think about what's the best target page for each one of these keywords that we're trying to rank for. So once we have a good idea around the content that's needed to be generated, that's going to be both things, like there's going to be several things. It's going to be actual landing pages, like I just mentioned, making sure you have a good landing page for each phrase. We got to think about blog content on your website, and that's stuff that's written to be in your brand voice and tone, and it's put out there representing your brand like you wrote it. And there's ways, not only we write the content, we also optimize it and promote it and syndicate it, which we can talk about in a little while. It's a little more complicated, but just understand that's the content that's your own brand voice. And then you also have to do a bunch of link building. So actually what we call off-page SEO, a lot of people don't realize that in order to rank well within Google, it's not just about what you do to your website. Some people think you just come in and, kind of tweak your website and boom, you're ranking in Google. But really, Google they're really looking at authority, relevancy, and trust. So we have to build these metrics over time consistently in order for Google to really kind of respect you. Let's just put it that way, and be able to get their favor is to be able to do that. So by building links over time, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about the importance of that. But there's a lot of things that you can do to your website without doing a ton of, paying somebody else to do this stuff. And that's really what we're here to try to help and coach you guys to understand is, what is your strategy? How do you know what phrases to go after? What can you do to your website itself to actually make improvements? And the last thing you want to do is make sure you have good measuring and reporting so that you can track that all back to the goals. So I always like to bring it back to goals. I would also encourage you guys, if you have any questions as we go along here, we got a couple other, actually got several people from the Webtek team here who can kind of help. Here they all are, can kind of help with any questions you may have. So just let us know, and we'll try to track those as we go along here. So let's start with this very first website. Richard, you said you had a chance to put them in the dashboard or no?
Yeah, we have a couple keywords in the dashboard.
Okay, so I'll just kind of pull up here the keyword research that we've done here. Now, this is super preliminary. We literally threw this together, today, and just before the webinar. So, but I want to kind of show you how this would work.
I would even say it's a little less keyword research and more of what are we currently ranking for?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, we haven't really refined this keyword list. So you guys all understand that we'll start with like Google has a tool out there, and you can write this down. If you want to follow up later, we can give you guys some resources. Feel free to reach out to us. I would just say probably info@webtek.co is probably one of the easiest ways, but you can also reach out through whoever you got this message through to sign up. But basically we need to go to a keyword planner. It's called Google Keyword Planner. Is a great tool out there where you can essentially put in your domain name, and then Google will assess your website and tell you what phrases your content is relevant to. Okay, that's the really first step, is you're really understanding, like, what does Google see as far as your content, and that's a really easy way of doing this. I mean, you can approach it other ways, but that's from, I think, from the audience we're talking to today, that's a really simple way to do this. And essentially what will happen is it'll come back with a set of keywords. So let's see, what was the, sorry, what was it?
Saina, S-A-I-N-A.
It's a Saina. Let me refresh. So you will get here a set of keywords. Now, what I'm showing you guys here is Webtek's internal dashboard, okay, but it has essentially a rank tracking piece. This is super not, we have a lot more we would set up eventually, but this is basically a way of looking at what keywords Google or other keyword research tools have come back with, that's what it's relevant to. And I mentioned to you there's some certain metrics that we really want to look at. When we say volume, that's number of people searching in Google for that phrase per month, essentially. And this is, it's kind of like, I always say Google gives really cloudy data. So you kind of have to look at it as a gauge more than, like, you know, an exact science behind what they're doing with each of these phrases. But, you know, and this is still actually pulling some of these metrics. They'll come through. It's just because it just takes time for this to kind of cycle through. But essentially we would look at how much search volume per month, or how many number of people searching for that search phrase are there per month. We look at the competition, and this is just kind of a relative, like, it's kind of like a little bar that shows you how competitive it is. Results is the number of index pages in Google for that phrase. And then we look at another metric that's not another component that's not really a metric, which is what's called consumer intent. So how likely is this person going to be searching for you, to convert for you? So for example, now this is a super short list, I guess, Richard, here. So really all we have is just,
there's not a lot ranking for, it's not like
a lot of brand,
a whole lot right now.
Yeah, so it's a lot of just brand search queries right now, and that's something that we could definitely expand out, build out. You'd really want to understand. That's why I'm starting with before we just break down any websites and see, like, what are the problems with it. I want everybody to understand the approach, right? Like, we don't just go after whatever phrase we think is, that's important, is like what we call a seed list, a seed keyword list, keyword seed list. That's a good place to start from, but we really want to have this more metric driven, where we really have a good understanding of why we're going after these phrases in the first place, or what phrases to go after. So once we have all those kind of targeted, I'm going to let Richard break down a little bit what we see on this particular website is some quick wins and some ways where we can make some improvements. Where'd it go? I think it might be in the window. Oops. Okay, I'm just going to pull it back up. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, Richard, I'll turn the time over to you for a minute here.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, diving in, obviously, as Justin's mentioned, the keyword research really becomes the cornerstone of a lot of what we do on site and off site. So when Google is looking at a website, it wants to see those keywords in a couple different places. The biggest one is in the title tag of the site, which is a little bit of meta code on the backside. You can see it on the like tabs at the top. You can see it there as well. But yeah, basically, when you're looking at the site, the current title tag on this site is InstaHealth, get all your medical records, pipe bar, share health data. And looking at it, now definitely mentioning the medical records. Are you able to show that, Justin, by chance?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't actually have it on this browser, but do you want to tell them, let's maybe just do a quick little thing here to show them what a title tag looks like on Google. So if, let's just say we said InstaHealth, right? This is like what, so people understand what this is like when you see this right here, this listing, This is primarily driven. Now, Google always has their own discretion on what they'll use for this, but this is primarily what is driven by what Richard described as the title tag. So there's what's called metadata on the back end of your website, and this is something that you plug in. You say title tag equals, and you basically type this in, and it's usually done through a content management system. But you basically put this in there, and this part that you see down below, like this little description, is a piece of the meta description. So the title tag, it not only puts in a lot of keywords to tell Google what it's relevant about, but it's also where you're trying to grab someone's attention in what we call a click through. So you want to get them to know what your page is about and get them to click when they see your listing on the page of Google. So that's what that is. And we have normally as SEOs, we're going to have a toolbar set that's kind of built in here, and we can easily pull title tags and meta descriptions. But for you guys' purposes, just understand that it's back in metadata that shows up here. And Richard, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, and really, this is one of the most valuable pieces. The title tag is one of the most valuable pieces of SEO real estate. It's where you want to make sure that you have your keywords in there. And Google only gives you roughly 70 characters of space in the title tag. It'll only read that far into it with its algorithm. So taking a look at the title tag on this, again, Insta Health, get all your medical records, share health data. The good things I'm seeing is that we do have medical records, share health data. Those are probably what I would assume to be one of the higher target keywords on there. I would probably put those closer to the front and have the Insta Health further towards the back, just because Insta Health looks to be registered, so I'm guessing it's branded. So people who would be searching for that are already familiar with the product and are already probably looking for your page. So I'd rather have the keywords that are going to get new audience, new clientele.
Yeah, because
onto
it's kind of weighted. Like you want to put your what we call discovery search phrases kind of towards the front because it's weighted. Like the closer to the front of the sentence it is, the more priority you're basically telling Google on that. And so you guys can see this right here, Insta Health. So when I type in Insta Health, there's a brand instahealth.india that comes up, and you got this Insta Health UC, which is about COVID-19. Then down lower in position number 3, for your own branded search phrase, you can see that it's right here. Get all your medical records, share health data. So those things you can see now. That's what's the metadata driving that.
And I think also the one other thing to point out here, I emphasize this, but Google only gives you so much space. And even in that search, share health, you don't have the data there because it's so far at the back. Google's cutting it off.
Yeah. So you really want to be like, okay, who are we trying to attract in, and what's the best search phrases that we're going to rank for based on that audience to pull them to you. Okay. Now let's move on. So nothing that we've talked about so far you can actually really see on the front end. It's more back end. And I'll just also make it clear, if you're using a content management system like, let's say, Shopify or WordPress or any of those major ones out there, most people are on a CMS, that's called at this point. When you publish a page, if you guys are doing your own page publishing, you'll notice that in the bottom it will say like SEO, and there's different plugins and things like that depends on what platform you're on. But generally, they're all going to have a place where you can put in a title tag, a meta description, and some other of those kind of keyword data into the back end, and then it will automatically publish to your coding, like the backend coding of your website. It'll automatically put those on there as title tags in the right way. So just understand that's where that information gets put when you're doing it yourself. Okay.
Yeah, and so continuing on with just a little bit more of meta information, the other most valuable piece of real estate is what's called the H1 tag. And there's several H tags. You have H1, H2, H3, et cetera. And that's basically, the H stands for headers. And those tags are information that Google uses to understand the structure of your site. The general rule of thumb is that every page on your site should have one H1, and then you can kind of be a lot more liberal with your use of H2s, H3s, and so on. Taking a look at this site, Justin, if you do want to scroll back up to the header, the issue with this site is that there are more than one H1s on the site. So that Meet Insta Health is coded on the backside as an H1. The own, collect, and share is also an H1, and all your health records is a separate H1. And there's several more actually on here. So that'd be one of those things where within the scope of an H1, it's the same thing as the title tag. You want to make sure that you're using the relevant keywords, but there's also the slightly more technical element of making sure that the headers that we are using adequately represent the structure of the page that it's on. We would want something like, as Justin has highlighted here, empower your personal health. That would be something that would be better to have as an H1, just because it's getting a few more of the keywords in there. Personal health, empower, I would probably still want to change it, but just in terms of that. And then I would try and make any other headers that you have on your site H2s or H3s. If you go much lower than those, Google kind of just treats them as regular text if you're really below those levels.
And just to make sure everyone understands, a little bit of technical thing, but H1, generally H1, in why it was created in the first place was just because that would be, it was from what's called a style sheet. So it would tell the web page that anytime you see this little tag, make it a certain color, a certain font size, things like that. But H1 was always like the biggest font size, the biggest everything. So that was important that, and Google picked up that that was the most important kind of phrase on the page. So you have to really treat those as like the third most important thing behind title tags and meta descriptions is your H tags. And you want to make sure you're putting in keywords in there that really tell Google in a strong way that these keywords are relevant to this page. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
the one other thing I wanted to hit on in the top section too is what shows up when the page initially loads is also very valuable to Google. And one of the things I'm looking at with this header image is it takes up the entire height of the screen, where what I would recommend, this does toe in a little bit on the design side, but I would probably shorten the header image so you can get that first sentence of the next section, what's called above the fold. And that's just a thing that being above the fold in the eyes of Google just helps it establish the relevancy of the content.
It also helps with conversion, which is another topic we talk a lot about, is like people, when they see this, when they know there's something down here, it allows them to, like, their eye will know to scroll lower. And there's always a little bit of a fight sometimes between design and SEO and usability and conversion. There's always different, kind of disciplines that are always kind of fighting within organizations usually to get what they want. But when it comes to like conversion and SEO, which are really metric driven around what actually benefits your business the most, I always prioritize that over design as long as your design is good, but not like, I wouldn't prioritize design over actually driving business to your website. You know what I mean? So, okay, continue on.
So coming down here, I think the next thing that kind of caught my eye was the slider that we have, this lady with the red hair, where it does look like it's going through and it's showing different screens of the software, I'm assuming. But when I first looked at this, I didn't even realize that it was changing at first, because most of the image is the same. That if you're not, if for some reason it doesn't load correctly, it doesn't shift through the different images, you can miss that. And I think having a video or something else to kind of show how the software works would be much more valuable at this stage on the website page. You're able to give people a clearer understanding of how the platform works, while also getting more engagement, because now they're watching a video.
Yeah, video is one way, and I would say that I would think a video is good, like a little explainer video. You typically want to have those 1 to 2 minutes where people can get a really quick understanding of what your software does. But I would say another thing to be really aware of is that there's a lot of research around this, that image sliders are conversion killers, and they're also heavy, which makes your site load time lower. Like it slows down your page, and that's a really big factor these days when it comes to user experience, which Google really cares about, is that we want to have sites that load really fast and they can get through and see exactly what they're looking for. So I would prefer to see this more on like a grid where you can see, each of the different, everything you can see all at once. You don't have to wait for anything to scroll through in this big heavy image that's a little confusing why so much of the space is being used by the same picture of a person sitting there. It doesn't really give, I think, a really clear depiction of it. But let's keep working through. I want to kind of focus definitely on the SEO side of things too. The main SEO trigger for me on this is that this is going to be just a really is going to slow down the load time. It takes a huge amount of space. It doesn't have any content that really helps your SEO side of things. And that's kind of some of the biggest problems I'm seeing. Now you can like click through these, people kind of understand that, but the overall user experience is a little archaic. I mean, it's like kind of older style. Like these days, you'll notice a lot of websites are not using these, and there's a lot of reason why they're not. So that'd be another suggestion too. I do see you have a nice little video here, which is great. I haven't watched the video, but I'm sure it's a little bit of an explainer into what your service does, which is nice to have. I mean, people do engage well with video. I have some other things to talk about too, Richard, but I'm going to let you. Yeah, anything else you want to continue?
No, if you want to jump in, I think the one other looking a little bit more at the user experience on the site and trying to make sure that we're thinking about what the user journey is on the site. Up in the header, we have the InstaHealth for patients, physicians, telehealth, and employers. And despite being about halfway down the page, scroll depth wise, I'm not seeing anything on the homepage that's also pointing people to these same things. And having that consistency and structure between your header and especially your homepage layout, again, is a huge signal to Google of what your site's about, what are your most relevant content, and what it should be ranking you for.
And it's like, it's important that we have it in the header navigation, we call it. So the navigation where the top header, mini navigation. But it is like, these are basically treat them like portals, right? Like you're trying to work with the main purpose of a homepage is to give them basically access to deeper areas of your website. And I'll just show you guys really quick our own website, just because we've addressed this really well. We have a lot of topics that we're talking about here. And as you can see, all of our services, SEO, PPC, website development, all the different things we do, the services are siloed, all the industries that we service, and it's just some of the industries, by the way. And then we have case studies blog. It's really clean, but you notice how it matches up, actually kind of mirrors down here our prioritization of where we're trying to get people. We want to get them into the SEO page. If you click in there, you're going to get an entire huge page about SEO, which then people can click within at local SEO or different things within SEO that they may want to know. But it's really like portals into these service sections that we offer. And we have a video here, so it's a great way people can just kind of check us out and kind of get a feel for who we are. And we notice we have calls to action pretty much everywhere. And then we can get into industry, where if we want to click in and get into our healthcare page, we'll see like huge amount of information around healthcare marketing and all of that information. And within each one of those, there's kind of things that help people understand about that. So really understand that you're trying to work people through. And not only is it a good user experience and getting people on the conversion rate optimization side of things, it does really help Google know how to prioritize each of these different sections of your website in terms of tying them into a keyword silo. And you got some additional things down, or we have additional things down here just around kind of gaining credibility. And then another thing that we do also is there's a certain amount of keywords that we want to have on, like we want to have pretty rich content on each of the pages, but you also don't want to overwhelm the user with too much content. Like, I mean, there is a lot of content here, but it's actually pretty streamlined considering how much information we're actually sharing on this website. So one way to deal with putting in a lot of content is to put in like accordion style content. Like in our case, we use frequently asked questions that you can actually, Google can see all these keywords on here, but it's done in a way where it doesn't distract the eye too much. So that's another kind of suggestion I would have if you guys want to try to build out additional phrases, additional content on your page, but you don't want to like have it just covered in words. So that's that. I mean, I can see you guys have InstaHealth, you have for patients. So you're addressing different audiences, which is good. So people can come through on patients, for physicians, and for these other things. One of the problems I'm seeing is just like it's really image heavy, and these images are actually pretty grainy. So overall, they need to be much more crisp, and I just don't think they need to be quite as big. But it's not bad. I mean, you actually have kind of a lot of content through here, so I'm not like too upset about that. But it would be good to kind of at least crisp those up a little bit without adding too much load time. So I think those are good, how you have portals through each different audiences, but you really want to be thinking about what are the search phrases that audience is going to be typing. So if it's for patients, what type of search phrase does a patient put in versus what a physician would put in versus people looking for telehealth or people who are employers. Like these are literally 4 different distinct audience profiles that are going to be coming to your website. So you need to have content and keywords that address each one of those different people. So again, going back, it's like once you know the goal, then you can define the audience, then you can define the keywords, and then the competition, and then the content, and then the measuring and reporting. That's the path. Like that's kind of those steps we always approach. When you look at the company, I'll just tell you another thing that's really important is the About Us page. So Google really puts a lot of weight on the About Us page because it's actually the number 2 or number 3 visited page on most websites out there. Is people really want to know people behind the product, the people behind the company that they're engaging with. So, another thing that I'm noticing is it's really just the style of this website is really big, what we call hero images, really giant size images with not much content above the fold. And you're really not utilizing that area very effectively from an SEO perspective. And all it says is founding team, our passion and diverse team. Really, you could do more, keyword integration into this. But I do like how it has vision and mission. Those are things that I think are really good. But I'll tell you a lot more that you can add to this that's important is more about your brand story, more about who you are, pictures of your actual team on this website. There's a lot of stock imagery, which I'm personally not a big fan of at all. It's much better to use real images of your team and real like that because people care about who you are and not just healthcare images necessarily. But I mean, I also understand why sometimes company have to use stock images, but I would always try to get real images of your company if you can. So that's another area that's really important for everybody. And a lot of these things that we're talking about, we're going in deep on this first website, but they apply to everybody. Like you got to have a good About Us page. And I'll give you just a quick example of ours. And I actually think it's still actually work in progress. So forgive us on some of the things because literally we're still improving this page right now. But I'll give you a couple other ones too that give you a good example of what to do on About Us page. But it says About Us. It tells you a little bit about our agency. There's a video you can watch. We have our mission statement and vision. We have our core values. We have pictures of our team, which the functionality is a little bit off on this, but we're showing like the titles of the people on the team, and we're showing a professional and a personal side of who we are. And we've got some other videos, and then we talk about our process, which I don't think is the best thing for About Us, but it's just additional kind of content. There's another one that I really like. It's called, and this is U.S. Cargo Control. They're actually a competitor of one of our clients, but they did a really nice job for the type of site this is. Notice how I want to just point out some elements here that you guys can try to incorporate into your About Us pages. Is they have a video at the top. They have something. Now, this is like a trucking cargo supply type company. So they sell to kind of wholesale to trucking companies for their supplies. But they tell the story. They have, kind of early days, coming of age, today. Then they have like their promise. You can see a picture of who their team is. They talk about their capabilities. They talk about some of these other things that are really important, like memberships and awards they've received. So kind of just telling more about, credibility of the team. The core values are there. They talk about the family. So there's additional brands that are operated by this parent company, ClickStop. And then they show a picture of their actual building. And then they show a bunch of useful links to all the other areas of the site too. So it really helps. And also you can link to all the social pages. So this is a really good example of a website that's done a good job with an About Us page. So I just kind of encourage you, try to follow these types of formats where you're really making a lot more robust About Us page because it matters for SEO and it also matters for user experience and people really wanting to work with you. Let me jump into another tool that's really accessible and easy for everybody to use. One really important factor with any website when it comes to php.com, I didn't mean to do that, is certain elements of the user experience. One of them particularly really being around page load time, like the speed that the website loads. You really want to target, like these days, it's kind of crazy how fast, but like is it still 1.2 seconds, Richard? Maybe it's
I think it was 1.5 last I heard, but that was even a few months ago, so it may even be shorter now.
Yeah, so it's like that. It's always moving down because Google's really cares a lot about their user experience. If you go to Google and you type in a search phrase and you get a bunch of websites that load really slowly and it's just a crappy user experience, Google looks bad in that case. So they're always watching to make sure that they're giving you the best user experience. When you search for a phrase on Google, they want to give the best performing websites. So you can go to what's called Page Speed Insights. You could just, I'm talking as I'm typing. It's Page Speed Insights. So you guys can just Google that. And it will pull up a tool from Google that you can see pagespeed.web.dev. and you pull this up here, and we'll just drop in InstaHealth, or sorry, Sina, Sina Health, and if we put it into, where'd it go? Shoot, hang on. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is, page inside. So then you just drop in your own URL in here. Oops, I didn't mean to put in the company. We want to just put in the home page. We'll analyze that. And it's going to give you a score on your both your mobile and your desktop to see how quickly the site loads, essentially. And this is something that's going to be more of a you're going to need a developer to fix this, but it's something you want to be super aware of, is like how well does Google see that your site loads. And there's another tool that's really nice out there too. Now, this is a really bad score. I'm sorry to say that. I'll just be straight up with you guys. 12, it's out of 100, right? You're like getting an F if you're getting a grade on this. Is 12 out of 100. So that's from a mobile perspective. We can flip it to desktop. It's better on desktop. So you're getting 48% out of 100, but that's still in the red. It's still a really low score. So you really want to actually bring in a developer to address all these issues. So down here, you can see like what it's telling you, and I won't bore you guys with all these, but essentially each one of these things is something a developer will understand that they need to do to improve your site load time. And that's a really important part of SEO too these days, is that your site loads quickly. And I'm telling you, a big reason why is probably all these big hero images and just lack of optimization around speed.
The image file type as well. They're all PNG files, and a lot of modern websites are going with what's called WebP format. It's a new image format that's designed for faster load times.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't have time for this today. It's called integration here, where it'll actually give you an SEO score out of 100. That's something that's kind of part of our dashboard too. That will be a nice tool for you all to look at. And we've spent a lot of time on this one. I want to make sure we save time for other people on this call. Let's see if we have, and I will just tell you, there's a lot more we can get into, but hopefully that was helpful for you guys, just as a jumping off point. Really the things that you can control yourself. Now, I didn't get into link building yet, but there's a whole other side of things where you really, I'll just say it in a general way, you really want to be getting as many links from other websites that you can. So that might be getting a directory listing. That might be reaching out with some, quality content that you write, that you try to get a webmaster to publish, and you want to try to get as many high value links as possible. And there's ways of looking at that. But essentially understand anytime that you, from a layman's perspective and what you can do yourself, if you don't hire an SEO company to do link building for you, then you can try to do as much as you can to get legitimate links from any website out there. And the higher, there's metrics you look at, like a domain authority and a lot of different trust metrics and things like that. But essentially, you're just trying to get as many links as you can, and no link's a bad link necessarily these days, unless it's, if it's a really spammy link. Google doesn't even really penalize you these days. They just discount, they just basically discredit it, so it doesn't really count at all. It doesn't really hurt you so much, but it doesn't help you either. So you want to get as many legit links as you can, and that's a topic we probably can get in a little bit deeper. If anybody has any questions about that, I think we just need to save that for another day, or for private conversations if you want to have them with us. I'm going to jump back to StreamYard just to see if there's any questions coming in. I don't see any right now, so if anybody has any questions on this one particularly, please reach out to me. So let's jump into the next one. I know we've got Merkabody, the biohack boss babe. I'm excited. I saw your message. Are you still on? Maybe you could just say hi or wave your hand, send us a comment or something, just so I know that you're on here listening. It's for me a little bit hard to tell. There's this new platform. So, but let me just go ahead and pull up that one. I'm assuming that is one of these. Oh, Merkabody. Okay, there we go. Now we got it, Richard. I'm not sure if you actually got to that one just yet, but
I have it. So we let's do it live.
All right. Well, do you want to? Should we cut? Now we got two for Visual Lav, or whatever that is. Visual Lav Shop. So we got two different domains. We're just going to pick one of these ones. If those are your website, if you're listening right now and these are your websites, maybe tell us which one you'd rather us do before we jump into that one. So I'll just wait a few minutes. I'm going to cover another website for now. So if you want to, because I've got Merkabody waving her hand saying that she's here. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of trying to serve who's on here to the best of my ability. So I'll jump into that one, and then we will jump back to the visual Lav. If you can just let us know which one's more important to you, then we'll try to cover that. I also want to save a little bit of time to get to Poet and Moon, as well as, if we can, to Southern Light Cinema. I know that was kind of a late addition, at least to my knowledge, so we'll jump in there as quick as we can though. So everything that I've said so far, the very first account, guys, that applies to everybody. So that wasn't a waste of your time watching someone else's website. A lot of these things I don't want to just repeat over and over, but those are always important things for every website to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Merkabody really quick. Just 1 second. Now, Richard, whatever you can do in the background while I'm pulling this up to do some research on it would be helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to pull up the website, I can talk to a few things on there already.
Yeah, okay. So let's let you go for it, and then I'll add my 2 cents as well. The first thing before we get started here, I'll just let you know that what we're seeing here is a pop-up immediately. And that's sometimes you want to wait maybe a little bit, like 5 to 10 seconds once someone's already like had a chance to consume your site a little bit before you just instantly hit them with one of these. Not really an SEO thing, but a general user experience thing is you want to wait till they've shown some level of engagement before you immediately try to get them to sign up for your newsletter list. Just a general practice. So with that, I'm going to let Richard kind of take it away for a second here on some of these things. And by the way, I love your logo.
Yeah, it's a nice logo. I agree. Again, I think that the first things that stand out to me are, again, coming back to the title tags and the H1s that we talked about on the last site, that the title tag for the homepage here is just home-website URL. So there are no keywords in there about CBD or anything about what the site's about. And additionally, there's also no H1s on the site at all, or at least on the homepage at all. So your 2 biggest opportunities to really tell Google what your site's about, and you're not using your keywords on either of them. So definitely a huge opportunity there.
Again, reminder, it's right here, guys. So when you type in Merkabody, the only thing that you see in the title tag, this is a big opportunity missed, is you're just saying that, again, the domain name, which you're going to, obviously, I mean, you're ranking already #1 for your brand phrase because there's not a lot of competition around that phrase, of course. So Merkabody.com, that's a waste of a really important piece of valuable research. You'd really rather be, you're talking about helping women and their families release anxiety, stress, and pain to gain focus, clarity, and increase energy. So, I mean, that kind of tells a little bit about through your description what it is, but we would really want to identify the keyword going back again. So what's your goal? I think your goal is to, drive new clients, new people reaching out to you to set up an appointment, whether that's booking appointments or contacting you through your website. One of those different, there's going to be 3. Usually we're tracking form submissions. This is important. We're going to track conversion for lead generation around form submissions, phone number clicks, so click to calls, and click to emails. Those are kind of the 3 main things we look at for lead generation. Also, if you have an ability to book an appointment, that's an important one, especially in the medical space, or schedule an appointment or whatever, schedule a demo sometimes. And the third thing is e-commerce transactions. Those are kind of the main 3 types of goals that our clients are usually coming to us with. But, you really want to establish that right up front. What's the goal? Again, who is the audience they're trying to attract in? What are the keywords that they would be typing in? And then you want to make sure those will plug into these primary things here. So it would be something like, anxiety treatment, stress relief, things like that. I mean, this is just off the cover here, but you want to have stuff in there where people are going to be typing like, in the medical space. I'll tell you another tip along this way is that we've established something called the patient's journey, and that's actually available. You guys can go to webtek.co, and we have in the industries and healthcare page, we have a lot of information here, but it talks a little bit. There's something here called the patient's journey. Okay, so you guys can look this up as a free resource, and you click on this view presentation, and it'll take you through and tell you, like, basically when people are researching in the medical space, they actually start by usually what we call the path is usually going to be around they start with a condition. So they start with condition. So like, let's say they've got a skin rash. They might be like, itchy skin or whatever. And then they move into treatment options as they start to like understand more about what the condition is that they have. So they'll go from talking about the actual symptom to then looking into, let's say, eczema. And then they used to kind of transition from that into, okay, so treatments for eczema, XYZ treatments, or and then they're going to start looking for like dermatologists near me. So then it'll be like they're looking for the actual type of a treatment facility or specialist that they're going to be going to see. And then they move into a facility decision where it's like best dermatologist near me. It's that type of like decision where they're comparing or compare doctors or reviews of dermatologists and things like that. That's the keyword set at that stage. And then to book the appointment, it's having to do with the user experience and kind of how you represent your brand online. They may at that point go check out your social media page, or they may go looking at different sources just to kind of validate who you are. But that's what we call the patient's journey in the medical space. And there's always going to be a client or a customer journey, no matter what space you're in. But this one we've really well defined that at different stages of their education, or in the path, we would call it, they're searching for different types of search phrases. And those would be essentially different personas. Somebody who's been more educated on what they're looking for. But that's getting a little far into the rabbit hole here. So let's go back here, Richard.
Yeah, the next thing is looking at this as an e-commerce site. That's kind of the understanding I'm getting from it with the products that you have up at the top. It takes a while, again, on the homepage you don't really highlight any of the products that are being sold. The benefits, it's good to have the sections that I am seeing on here, but I would want to probably higher up on the page have a section showing some of your top products, things that are selling well, and get people along what the user journey on your site is, which is to be buying products. I mean, as you can see, Justin had to scroll about halfway, maybe a little bit more down the page to see the products being sold on the homepage.
Yeah, so the product grid, I'll just tell you right off the bat that this is is this Sunny? I didn't even just talking to Sunny. I don't know if this is Sunny, but I'm familiar with Sunny. So if this is her customers. I'm not sure if Sunny's actually a customer of yours or not. But anyway, the products you have are all up here. We really want to introduce a product grid much quicker. So literally, that's probably going to be something that I would recommend we put right here. It's just a reordering of what you have. Because yes, we do want to show customers experience, but that's more like a little bit further down the page. It's more like the validation I mentioned earlier when we're looking at the About Us page. It's like, then you want to start showing, customer testimonials or, associations that you're a part of and things like that. But really, honestly, and by the way, I love this quote as well. Something I quote all the time. Separate topic, but anyway, there's you do talk about the benefits. These are all things that are important, but you really want to start just by straight up loading your top products. You guys, it looks like you define these CBD and the pain relief roll and the bath tea. Those things are those are important to have like right near the top. And I'll just kind of show you, like, just as always kind of look when you're an e-commerce company. As much as maybe some people may not like to hear this, Amazon is like the ultimate when it comes to getting conversion rate for products in general. So you can notice right here, what are they doing? I mean, they are using an image slider, which is different than what I said earlier, but they are using a product grid specifically. Now they can get away with certain things because they're Amazon and they have just massive authority and things like that. But I would say generally, I would probably be loading with a image header, but they've also got it super light and it's really small and it's really just they have so much content that it does kind of help lead, and they're running promotions through that. But just notice how it's not as pretty as you might want it to be, but it really is effective. People can get it immediately in through a huge web of offerings and be able to figure out what they want. And they change these out all the time and stuff like that. So that's just one example. I would move your product grid right up to here and kind of leave it right there. There's another one of our clients that I'll just bring up here that have done a nice job. And these guys, whoops, shoot. Redirected. So these guys are more of a they're a battery company. A really cool product that they do. It's like lithium rechargeable batteries, so USB rechargeable, so you can plug them directly into normal USB on a pack of like 4 or whatever. So it's really nice product. But what you can see is they've got They've got some nice lifestyle images, but they've actually done a lot to make the site load really quickly and stuff. Immediately, what's the immediate thing that draws your eyes is Shop Now. When you click Shop Now, it gets you directly into a product grid. So that would be a much better suggestion that I would have. If you're going to have a nice type lifestyle image, you've done a good job. Shop Now drops you directly in there. So yes, you've done that part really well. But one part I think that you kind of missed a little bit on is being able to introduce this onto the homepage to, again, shape them through that funnel to get them into where you really want them to be. Because where you really want them to be is buying products. I love all the stuff you guys have got. I mean, like, I use all these things myself. So just a good example. And then notice what happens next. You've got fully charged faster on the trip to the store, bulky charger, a thing of the past, and batteries that won't leak into your device. These are just kind of basically addressing what are the pain points of their audience. And this is something that they've kind of chosen to put up there. Another way is that you can see is immediately you can see their top selling products. They've got this home conversion kit. It's their big pack. They've got this AA and AAA like bundle. They have these bundles they have, and they have their two most highest selling products, which is their AA and their AAA products. And then you can literally just buy it right there. In fact, you can even add it to your cart immediately on the home page, I believe, with this plus. Yeah, immediately puts it into the cart. So see how smooth that process was? They don't have to even leave the home page to literally start putting things into their cart. And what you want to do on conversion is not SEO, but on the conversion rate optimization side of things, you want to eliminate as many steps as possible to get them into the funnel, get them through the conversion process. And I'm trying to watch for, if not, numbers I can stop by. Okay. Hopefully she's still on. I'm not sure if Merkabadi is still on. But anyway, so then the other thing that I'm noticing here is just you've got some good credibility, or sorry, let's go back to them. They have some good credibility here and something to also kind of lean on if you have any sort of associations or ways you got in awards and things like that. Now, membership, I guess that is, what is this? So yeah, you can get a membership, I guess, and that's another good thing. And I don't mind this thing popping up, but I would just be like, I would say, I like how it pops up now, like after you've been on the website for a minute or something like that, then you can kind of pop it up, but I wouldn't immediately serve them that. And it also kind of, there's another thing that does too on your bounce rate, which isn't that big of a deal, but when you're trying to track how many people are leaving your site immediately, it kills that metric because a bounce just essentially means a single page visit. And if they come to your website and then you pop them immediately a pop-up, then that counts actually as a second page visit and it runs your bounce rate metrics. So that's another thing to be aware of. But yeah, you can join the membership on here. It gives you all the features and benefits, which is good. I like that. There's no issue with this site other than we might want a little more content. Like you want to generally have more, closer to, I don't know, 600 words, Richard. Is that a good number or is that too high? That's more like a blog post.
I on the homepage, I mean, I think the homepage, depending on what your specific site design is, I think at least 600. I know I kind of encourage even going a little bit higher, closer to 800 on the homepage.
Yeah. Okay, so I won't repeat a bunch of these things. I think that's a lot of really good advice for now. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Again, please feel free to reach out to us and continue this conversation. But hopefully that was useful. Again, a lot of things about us page and all those things I think are really important. I like how you have all the what is about all of your other products. Understand these are all different silos. So you want to have different keywords sets for each one of these landing pages. So you want to talk about each one of those. You want to find the keywords associated with each one of these pages. So I'm going to look really fast to see if there's any questions, but I think that's all we have.
I don't see any, Justin.
Okay. All right, guys. So let's jump into the next one here. I know we're getting close on time here, so hopefully you guys have a little bit extra time to jump on. So the visual, I'm going to just jump into this one really fast, and we'll cover this one.
I think that's their main one. The other one's more e-commerce focused, but I think that this is kind of their main.
Yeah, and again, initially right at the bat, we're seeing a big, image slider. Not really the best way of using that. Same thing again. You got to be really careful of all your H1 tags and making sure you have, the types of phrases that you're trying to rank for. You want to have those directly put in your H1s, your title tags and meta descriptions, all those things. I do like how you have kind of these different, again, the different audiences you're trying to bring in. So you're addressing corporate people and education people. And just, air purifiers. So that's good. One thing also, just be aware of, anytime you're using text that's in an image like this, Google's not able to read that. So I would prefer to use real text instead of text. Not only that, it also looks grainy. So that's something that I would eliminate. You got some good, our customers down here. That's good and helpful. I like, and another thing we didn't really address on a lot of these is that we want to have conversion elements and as like a sticky header. One thing that I always like recommending people is if you're trying to do any lead generation, we call it the Webtek header, and that's pretty much we recommend for almost any website. Is that you want to have like your primary calls to action. So ours is click to call, click to email, and then requesting a quote, which takes them actually to the contact page and they can fill out a form. You want to have those. Notice how no matter where you go on any page, how they're stuck in the header. That's what we call a fixed menu. And you want to be able to have all those as in place. So that's another good thing that I would recommend for really all of our clients is that you treat that header as a primary call to action. All of them, like at least 3 of them, I would say, not really beyond that, but there are 3 primary calls to action up here, and try to get them into the funnel just directly on any page. That'll include your blog, your About Us page, any of those pages that are not generally like a conversion type page. You want to have the ability to convert everywhere on the website. So that's that. We haven't really gotten into blogs much with anybody. I would just recommend you guys put on a blog on your website, talk about your keywords, and try to put on at least 1 post a month, if not once a week or so. Richard, anything you want to call out on this one?
Actually, if you want to scroll down to the footer, I think that this is another important thing, especially if you are a local site. You have the contact information. It's good to have the email there, but Google does utilize the contact information in the footer as a trust signal for a site. So if you feel comfortable adding an address and phone number in this situation, I would strongly encourage that, as Google does look at that for local rankings pretty strongly.
Yeah, and I would say another thing I noticed is not clickable. You always want to have your email clickable. You always want to make your phone number clickable. Any of these buttons, I'm assuming they're clickable. Yeah, everything you want to be clickable. That is in your contact. Another, just to kind of give you a visual on what Richard's talking about there. Where's Webtek? Yeah, you'll notice that, again, no matter where you are, I'll just go to services page. When you're on our main services page, or really any page on the website, you'll be able to see that not only do we have that header that's sticky, in the footer, you have a number of elements that are a recommendation for everybody here. Is that you have your contact information, your phone number that's clickable, your email that's clickable, your addresses for your business, which then ties into your Google My Business, which is a whole other topic we'll talk about in another webinar, is how to get visibility on the Google My Business, because everything we talked about so far is just getting your website. But notice how, I've noticed a lot of websites out there, they'll use their social media elements in the header here. I'd always put those in the footer. You don't really need to use valuable real estate to get people to a secondary goal. Usually getting the social media follow is a secondary goal. So you want to put that in the footer. We do put in some other trust emblems as well as quick links to all the main sections of your website. That's not, a lot of them are like up there, but we also put in things that we don't want to necessarily put in our main navigation. We'll put them in the footer because it's a good place to put them without taking up space. And then also the ability to sign up for newsletter. Notice it's kind of tucked away. It's under a big goal of ours, but it is there.
Just jumping off of that, Justin, always think about your footer as your last chance to keep a person engaged. If someone scrolled all the way to the bottom of your site, you want them to have some place to go beyond the page that they're currently on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll just remind everybody, again, everything that we've said to the first website applies. So you want to go check out go to your page speed insight, like I mentioned, and just to compare here what this website's getting versus what Saina got, and just in terms of score out of 100, essentially. We'll let this run. It just takes a minute. But yeah, page speed insights. There's another really good tool out there that I'll just drop as well if you want to write this down. Is GT Metrics, GT and then metrics with an X. So hopefully, actually, we really should, this is only our second webinar doing this, guys. So we'll get a little bit better about creating a resource page after that. But with the links that we mentioned here, but as of right now, we're hopefully taking good notes here. And we'll definitely be happy to give them to you if you reach out to us after this call. But then you look at their score out of 100 on mobile, it's 44, still in the red, not really ideal by any means. Desktop is coming back much better with 87. And one thing to think about just on the mobile versus desktop is who is your audience? Most of the times these days, about 70% plus of websites traffic is mobile, but some office B2B type search websites that are servicing, like maybe just servicing, like a AV Office AV client base. They may have more on this side of things, but in general, yeah, definitely they're going to be more on the mobile side of things. So you want to pay attention mostly to the mobile, but both of them do matter for sure. What other things did you want to call out here, Richard?
I just speaking a little bit on the page speed. The chances of you getting a perfect 100 on Google Page Speed Insight on both sides of things is pretty low, but definitely you do want to see those at least in the yellows and the greens. Seeing those metrics in the red is really the big red flag.
Most of our clients, we can get in the high 80s or low 90s, but yeah, 100% is pretty much impossible. I'll just kind of tell you, there's other things that just to quickly call out is you don't really have enough content on your homepage. I would definitely add more content here, and then you want to also shape them down a little bit. I mean, you've got all your different displays up here. Same thing, where you probably want to have a bit more of a product grid to kind of lead people into your funnel directly without having to only go to your menu navigation. All of your different products are on there, which these are all again individual keyword sets you're going to want to go after and make sure you have a good understanding of what keywords you're trying to rank for, and then put those all into your title tags and meta descriptions. Make sure you have content that's written in there, and again, try to get as many links to your website as possible. And this
I think the one other thing I did notice on this site, Justin, is that the header tags are also a little weird, where the visual AV, that's actually an H2. And your H1 is a little bit further down the page. In the middle, that's your H1.
Okay, so that's definitely a bad use of H tags. You definitely want to kind of, again, prioritize your H1 at the very top, the most important phrases, H2 as the second most, H3 kind of basically saying it's not that important. Anything after that is not really telling them any signal about its importance with H4s and through 6. So yeah, that's that. Now I'm going to jump in. Hopefully, if there's any questions, please, if you're still on, I'm happy to try to field any questions as we go here. Let's see. We have the next one up is going to be, we'll get into Poet and Moon. Did you have a chance to get into that one, Richard?
I did not, but let's go for it.
Let's go. So again, Jess, you got to identify. Jess was on last week, and she was on for her CRO one. So I'm gonna kind of talk to her a little bit now, because we talked about how to tell the brand story better, how to get people directly into booking. She's got some good things with the booking now. One big problem we called out before is there's really no copy on the homepage whatsoever, and she's actually also using a subdomain. We have not gotten into domains yet, but you really want to actually have like poetandmoon.com as the main domain, because what you're doing is essentially you are right now a subdomain of glossgenius.com. So if you try to do SEO on this page, you literally would be building links to the domain of glossgenius.com. And it's really kind of wasting all of your effort and really powering up Gloss Genius as the domain. Because even though it is a subdomain, it's a subdomain. So even though Google would treat that as its own separate property, I would definitely, from a strategic perspective, not only that, it just looks a little cleaner and crisper when it just is poetandmoon.com or poetandmoonwaxing.com or P&M waxing or whatever you decide to do. But I would say put in poetandmoon.com if you can get that, would be ideal. And you want to make sure you add a lot more homepage copy, a little bit about telling the brand story. In your situation, it would be like, all right, you essentially be like, I would put in here like the services you have. And I know you've got a bunch of services on your services tab, but I would just pick like the top 3 services and kind of put them on here. Again, a reminder of how we address a very kind of complicated offering with Webtek on the services section is that we, on the homepage, we do show all the services, but we prioritize them around what the ones we're trying to get people to click through first, which is SEO and PPC. Then we have other areas that we service as well in terms of our services that we offer. But it's a way of just kind of shaping them and kind of showing your offering in a more visual way and kind of shaping the content through that way. Again, notice how much content we have on here. And if you don't like having too many words, a reminder to use accordion style content as a way of addressing more content in a cleaner visual way. So also looking through here, you've got your services. If I remember, well, so services, the only thing is that you got 1 billion of these and they're all kind of like, they look the same, right? You got a little bit of words on there, and that's good. But there might be a little bit better way of doing this. I know another problem with this website is it's built on a built-in platform that has its own limitations. Gloss Genius is something that it's funny. I'm taking my son after this to go get a haircut, and my haircut person sent me a message from Gloss Genius. So it's just a platform, but it's better to like put like this platform, like once they get into the booking side of things, put that kind of under your main domain, and on your main domain is where you put your homepage with all that, better information and better brand story, more keywords, better, flowing through.
Something I would recommend, Justin, because whoever website this is, sorry, I'm not going to assume it's a she, but but you have a selected category on your drop down there under services. And I think if you're looking for an easy way to start adding more content, having each of those as their own individual page and having some content about each of those would be a wonderful place to start.
Exactly. I would create a page around each one of these, because again, these are, if you want to rank for the word body waxing Salt Lake City or body waxing Utah, you want to have a page that's about body waxing specifically. And then you want to have a page specifically about face waxing, and then a page specifically about lashes. But I would probably even call it like, I don't know. There's probably better phrases than just lashes.
Microneedling or whatever.
Or like, I don't know. What do you do? Lashes? Like, I guess fake lashes?
Lash weaving.
How they call it. But yeah, there's basically other words that through keyword research or even just your knowledge of the industry, Jessica, I would put in there like, what types of lash services. And then you want to put in all the different variations of it, like fake lashes or eyelash extensions or just whatever they call it.
Lash lift is the big one that she has.
Lash lift. Okay, so lash lift. That's the thing. So those are also good things to put on your homepage. If I was looking at how would I create those little portals like I mentioned before, I would have right on your homepage. And by the way, I can't even get back to your homepage without thinking.
If you click on Poet and Moon Waxing Room, it's not very clear. That's not very clear too.
I would put your brand logo up here, or even just put home, which is a little older style. But generally, people are used to seeing their, like the logo right here is the way to get back to homepage. Like pretty much every website out there, that's kind of what people do now, is we just put that up there in the corner. Same thing with Webtek. We got the logo in the corner. Everyone just knows that's your homepage link. With you, it's like, where do I go? And then I'm like, oh, I click on this thing to go there. And then you're back to the homepage. But again, all you got is book now. Book what? I mean, I don't know. I know that you're waxing for sure. So I could click and go in there, and then I could pick from there. It's just not very intuitive, and it doesn't really get them to like subsections, which would be better. Because if you think about the keyword optimization, you want to think top down, and how do we get into get people into the funnel? Okay, so we're trying to get them in from where they are in their search query into the actual goal. And so they may be coming in on your different service types, like your different categories, like body waxing, face waxing, and lashes. All of those should be entrance pages addressing those types of search queries. So if someone types in face waxing Utah, you want them to come into the face waxing page. You don't want them to come in your homepage or lashes page. You want them to come in the face waxing page. If they type in body waxing Utah, you want them to come into body waxing, which would then be all of the other types of body waxing as well. So you may end up creating sub pages around those, depending on how far down like how granular you want to go. But essentially, you would want to have the different types of body waxing. And again, kind of show you an example of how we handled that on Webtek with a lot of different service offerings like this. Oops, sorry. It's going to be, here's SEO. So think of that as like the top category that we're dropping into a little bit lower. And in that case, maybe it's body waxing. But you'll notice how once you get inside here, we've got local SEO, we've got enterprise SEO, we've got e-commerce SEO. And then we've also got all these different, those are benefits of SEO. And we talk about what it all entails. And each one of these are different sections. So you can actually go into, read more about link building. So now we're like deep into the SEO world, where if somebody actually typed in on Google, link building services near me or link building company or whatever, then this would be the page we would want ranking, and people would get in here. And that's the type of person we know is very deep down the funnel, because I bet a lot of you guys didn't even know that link building had anything to do with SEO. But if you're a pretty, I guess, researched or well-read person on the topic, then you'll know that link building is something that you really need. And if somebody's typing that in, I would consider that somebody who's much more ready to purchase my services than someone who's just like SEO person or company or whatever. They're really more exploratory at the beginning of it, and when they're in link building world, they're like ready to like hire somebody because they know exactly what they're looking for. So those are just some good general tips. We are actually a bit out of time here, so I want to apologize for anything that we did not get to today. I will tell you that everything that we talked about today will apply to these other websites, and maybe just out of respect for you and taking the time today, I'll jump on here really fast for Southern Lights Cinema and see if there's something that we can point out that's different than what we've already talked about with these other sites. Jessica, you can always reach out. Any of you guys, please, just a reminder, reach out to us if you have any additional questions around some of the stuff we've given you today. I will also tell you, just, obviously, if you want help doing all this stuff, we are a digital marketing agency that we really specialize in this kind of stuff. So if you get into it and you're like, hey, how much to just have you do it, we're happy to just help you do it, because that's sometimes easier, but we're also really trying to make it so that when you're trying to do this on your own, that we're a good resource too for learning what's important. I'll tell you the first thing that sticks out to me on the Southern Lights Cinema. Now I get why I actually love videos like this, especially when they're like these big, beautiful header videos. The problem with them though is that they're actually kind of SEO killers, because they're really like heavy load times. I would bet, and I haven't checked this yet, but I would bet that you're getting probably a fairly low load time on this, on PageSpeed Insights. Again, by the way, Visual AV, if I didn't show you before, they got a 44 on mobile, desktop 87. So now if we put in this other new website, Southern Lights Cinema, we'll let that run and we'll tell you how that's looking. Again, a really valuable resource here is pagespeed.web.dev. And I will just tell you again, going back to Keyword Planner, we didn't pull that up specifically. We just pulled up our platform, but it'll essentially kind of show you the same things. I think that's an important topic. Again, keyword research is, when we're just trying to teach that one topic, it's a little bit lengthy. So that's something that I think we need to cover specifically on its own, rather than a general SEO like this. But we definitely want to make sure you guys know Keyword Planner is a place you guys can go to get as much keyword information from a jump as you can. You literally would just put in this domain just like we did here and run it through Keyword Planner. Maybe I'll just show that really fast, actually. I don't really have time to go through all this, but just so you guys can get a visual real quick, Keyword Planner. And you can just Google these things, Keyword Planner, and it will come up right here. It's under actually ads.google.com, and that's mainly because this is used for AdWords, so pay-per-click. So Google wants you to spend money to get these things, to get traffic around these phrases. But you can use this as a great way of understanding what are the keywords that you want to rank for organically as well. So as that comes up here, I will give me 1 second. Oops. I'll show you what this looks like. So you just have to have a Google account essentially, and you go into search. And that, and it'll actually bring up for you. What am I doing wrong here? It's segments. Richard, help me out. Where do I put the? They change things on Google a lot too, by the way. So
I would need to go to Xavier for this, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we use different tools. I was trying to just show you like a really cheap and it's a free one actually. Whoops, hang on. Don't understand there. So anyway, go to this. You can basically get in here, and you can type in your phrases. My computer's like trying to scan my computer. Click something wrong. So that's just a really, really quick version. But you go in here, and I'll have to show you guys once I pull it up and show you. But basically, you just go in here and you search based on your domain, and it will pull up different types of phrases that that your site is relevant to. So I'll leave it at that for now. Probably not super helpful.
Justin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oscar here. Go to tools.
Tools.
On the
Okay.
top bar. Mm-hmm. And then keyword planner on the left side.
That's what I was looking for. Okay, so discover. There we go. Then you can discover. So yeah, go to tools, and then you click on keyword planner once you're in here, and then you can just type in. It says to start with keywords. You can do that if you want to drop in some things like I think I want to rank for. Let's just say going back to Jess, we want to rank for like waxing services or whatever, body waxing near me. You can type in just that, and it will pull back. the results, right? So that's one way of doing it. And it'll pull them up just based on that. Body wax near me, full body wax studio, all these different things. It'll tell you one way of looking at just like what's the most expensive keyword. If it's the most expensive, that's because people are paying more money to get that because it performs well. So that's a really easy way to look at it. But you can also kind of see what are the monthly search volumes. So body waxing near me gets 14,800 searches per month. Expensive, $67.34 per click. Same as hair waxing near me, very similar, but much lower volume. So 2,400, but super high expensive bid because it converts really well, obviously. So that's just a quick visual of what Keyword Planner looks like. And look at page speed insights now again for Southern Light Cinema. You guys have a really low score, unfortunately. It's 6%, or 6 out of 100. So you really want to improve the overall site load time, and that's things like eliminate or render blocking resources and reduce unused JavaScript, and a bunch of just technical terms that your developer will know. We also offer those services if you're interested in that. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Oscar, thank you for bailing me out there. I appreciate it. Yeah, Oscar is one of our PPC experts on the team here. So that was really helpful that he was on there to help. So let me just jump back. Is there any other questions that are coming in?
No.
Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. We do this every week, every Thursday at 3:33. We'll be kind of covering different topics as we go. But as I said, SEO, PPC, and CRO are the main focuses, and we'll sometimes have additional little subtopics within it, like maybe it's link building, maybe it's keyword research, maybe it's subtopics of each one of these things. So we're going to try to create a lot of value with this series that we're creating now. So thank you guys for joining us. Please let us know any feedback. We'll be happy to incorporate that and listen to what you guys tell us. So Richard, do you have anything else you want to say in closing?
No, thank you guys for listening to us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you. Oh, let's see.
Justin, I'm sorry. One last thing. Can you go back to the presentation? There's one on the slide number 8.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. So our audience can go to webtek.co/consultation, and you can apply for a free site audit and consultation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually forgot we even had that on there. So yeah, this is a page you guys can go register with us for a little bit deeper dive consultation. This was just kind of we're doing this live on a call with a bunch of people. This would be more of a customized site audit and consultation where we'll give you about a half an hour of our time, just kind of talking through your website, kind of talking a little bit about strategy and talking with you about your goals and challenges and how we can help assist that. And we'll give you a proposal of what it would cost for us to do this work with you. And that's basically what we're offering. So jump on there and fill that out if you want to go a little deeper. I'd be happy to assist you all as well. So thank you for your time again, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, maybe next week or when a topic is helpful for you. We'll be making announcements on LinkedIn, also usually on Instagram, and we do send out emails and things like that if you subscribe. I believe we're still working on that, I think, but you will be able to subscribe and we'll be able to send you out kind of what's the next topic each week. So be looking for that as we develop this program. Again, thank you for your time, and we're going to let you go now.
Thank you, everyone.
As soon as I find how to close it. Okay, here we go.
Still alive.
Just found it. All right.